Just waiting for a big truck to pass. Hello and welcome to the Arielle Knits YouTube channel. My name is Riley and today I'll be showing you my Dodec wheel. So the Dodec wheel, for anybody who may not be familiar, there are free plans for the Dodec wheel out on the interwebs that you can use to make your own spinning wheel. So that's what I did back in 2019. It cost me about $45 for the materials. That doesn't include tools, so if you need to buy tools, you're going to be at a higher price point. But yeah, I'm very excited to tell you all about my wheel and my thoughts and my experience spinning on it. But first, let's give you a closer look at the wheel itself and all of the features on it. So this is the spindle. This is where it spins. Let's see if we can focus that. There we go. Modifications I made, I talk about in my blog post, but there used to be a wooden peg here and it wasn't able to handle the force of pushing down on the treadle. So I added just a knob that I got from a craft store, or like you can also get them from hardware stores. See, the screw goes back there. Just make sure the screw isn't so long that it's gonna hit your stand. I took a wood burner and decorated mine. Then I have this butcher's cord, the butcher's string around the knob, and so when I press down on the treadle, see how it's going all the way around, and it'll stop here, and if it stops back or forward, you can just give your wheel another nudge and it'll keep going. You can only have one size of whirl really for this wheel because with the way that the, let's focus that, hardware works, there's not enough space right there to get a bigger whirl in, so this wheel does move pretty quickly. I'm gonna just spin for a little bit so that you can see what it looks like when it's spinning and the rhythm of the treadling. And I'll make a comment here or there about it, but for the most part, I just want you to be able to see what it looks like when I spin on it. So today I'm gonna be spinning some Gotland fiber, Gotland wool on my spinning wheel for you all. If you'd like to order a fiber sampler pack from my shop, I'll link to that below. There is some of this fiber in there currently. Let's start spinning. Let's get the wheel going. I think if this is a better price point, like if you want a wheel, like for me, this was my first wheel because I couldn't afford, I wanted a spinning wheel. I knew I wanted a spinning wheel, but I knew that I couldn't afford to buy a brand new one. You can still spin a beautiful fiber on it. You just need practice. And honestly, like when I first started spinning on this wheel, I did not have yarn that looked this good, but that's the same story for every wheel. It's just a little bit less frustrating to learn on wheels that behave the way that you want them to, or that you expect them to. So as you can see, like, it's not the smoothest treadling, and you do have to keep up with it and it's really just getting a good feel for it. Oh, see, I'm gonna bring my foot up and, whoops, got stuck up there again. There we go. The biggest part about this wheel, the thing that I struggled with when getting to know it, was getting my treadle rhythm down. So you do have to press considerably harder on this wheel than other wheels that I've spun on that are like bobbin wheels. But It's not really a big deal because once you get the rhythm down and you get used to it, it'll just come naturally to you. I was really surprised by the muscle memory because I hadn't spun on this wheel for, gosh, a year, and then when I picked it up again, I surprisingly was able to do pretty well on it because muscle memory, right? Okay. So something I was curious about when I first saw the Dodec wheel and how it worked. I'm going to stop spinning because it's kind of hard for me to talk to you and spin at the same time. But one of the things that I was concerned about or didn't understand was, how does it get on the spindle? So this is a spindle wheel. Bobbin wheels, it will automatically feed on, like the bobbin will pull the spun fiber onto it. But with spindle wheels, you actually have to manually do that yourself. So what you do is, as you're spinning, it will, this point at the point and tip of the spindle, this is where Sleeping Beauty pricked herself, but anyways, at the point of that, the fiber slips around it, and that's how it creates that spin. So once you get the spin in it, you move the wheel the opposite way just for a second, just to like get it off of this part and like back into the bulk. And then you'll start spinning clockwise again to wind it on, and then start spinning outwards again. So my thoughts on this wheel. Like I mentioned previously, this is the first wheel that I ever spun on. If you spend a lot of time with it, you'll be able to spin really well, and you'll get a lot of really great practice. However, it is a difficult wheel to learn on because there's so many different things. Because if you're just learning how to spin, you're learning how to do a lot of different things all at once. So spinning, you need to be spinning the fiber for one, and then you need to be drafting and controlling it, and then treadling and making sure you're remembering to wind it onto the spindle. So it's a lot of things. So it was really frustrating for me when I was first learning, and I got really discouraged. So beginners could use it. I mean, this was the type of wheel that was used for a really long time before they even introduced bobbin spinning wheels, which are what you see in the market nowadays. But it's just going to be more frustrating. It's going to be a longer process than, say, using a bobbin wheel. Something that I want to do, a modification I want to do, I mentioned I did the modification of this knob here on the wheel instead of using a wooden peg. But another modification I would like to make is I would like to have the base a little bit heavier because it wobbles a lot, and my wheel, if I'm on like a hardwood floor or anything like that, I'll be pushing it away from me. It works great on carpet. I still would want to weigh it down so it's not wobbling as much, but it doesn't really affect the spinning too much. It's just kind of this is kind of annoying. Yeah, overall, I really like this wheel. I was surprised because I didn't think I liked the wheel at first. I was like, oh, this is cool, like it's really cool to have a spinning wheel, but like once I got my bobbin wheel, my matchless, I was like, okay, bye. And I actually gave this to a friend who decided she didn't want to spin anymore, so she gave it back. So I'm really glad she gave it back because I started spinning on it and I was just having a really good time. Like I mentioned before when I was showing, it's not a really adjustable wheel. It only really gives you one speed option because of the way that the hardware lines up. You can only have one whirl size. Whirls typically, if you are new to spinning and spinning wheels, whirls typically, as they change size, it changes the speed of the spindle. So the bigger the whirl, the slower the spin, and the thicker the yarn. The smaller the whirl, the thinner you can spin your yarn and the faster you're going to be spinning. This wheel comes apart, so it's perfect for traveling. You can just pull it out like that, unhook it from the treadle, and then the spindle just pops off. I'm not going to do that right now because I have it all set up, but yeah. All right, so just a summation, my final thoughts are, this is a great wheel. I would recommend it for experienced spinners, and beginners, it will be frustrating, but it does the trick, and I'm sure that if you spent enough time with it, you'd rock at it, because when I actually took the time to spend like 3 days just spinning for a few hours on this wheel, before I got my matchless and all of that, I actually started getting pretty good at it, which is why when I picked it up again, I had that muscle memory. So I think you can definitely get good yarn from it as a beginner. You can get a good yarn from it as an experienced spinner. It's just a learning curve, but it does the trick. And as you saw for yourself, it can spin beautifully. So if you're considering it, I would definitely recommend it, especially at the price point that it's at. You are going to have to press harder when you treadle, and you're going to have to learn the special quirks of your own handmade wheel, because all handmade wheels are going to have their own little quirks based on like how you made it. So I hope that this review was helpful or answered some questions if you had any about the Dodec wheel. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out. I will also be putting a blog post, and I'm sure I'll have more information there, because I'm not having like the nerves of being in public in the park and people watching me, so I'm forgetting all the things I'm supposed to be saying. But it's also starting to rain, so I'm also eager to get back in the car and go home. But thank you all so very much for being here. I absolutely love creating content for you guys, and it just makes me really happy. So thank you so much for being here. Now go out there and craft your world. Bye.